Morning. So, so last night was quite a thing. I'll show you in a little bit where everything happened down the hills where the rattlesnake was, and then of course the Sidewinder is right here behind the quad. I got the camera sitting on the front pack on the quad just so I can have a place to aim it. It was really a nice warm evening till about I guess about 2 a.m. It got cold. Not real cold, just up until that point I would have been sleeping on a sleeping bag if it hadn't blown off on the ride here. Uh, the ride in the truck to here, not off the quad. And after 2 a.m., I would have crawled in it. And it wasn't awful. It was mostly where my body was lying on the cot, which is actually the tent floor on the cot. That would get cold, so I found myself turning a lot, so that would warm up. I didn't even wear my field jacket until 2 a.m. I was just using it as a pillow until that point. And then at 2 this morning, I put the field jacket on. And I tend to like to go to, like, when I sleep, I'll go like sleep on my shoulder, sleep on my back, then sleep on my other shoulder. But without a pillow, that can't be done. I thought about using my boots as a pillow, or at least just some kind of elevation, so that so I can have my neck not be like going down to the floor of the tent, have at less of an angle. But anyway, so after battling, I battled this dang-do Sidewinder. And I thought snakes were supposed to be afraid of people, but I probably shooed this thing away at least 5 times before I finally got it to go to the point where I wasn't willing to follow it any further. And see, that happened while I was trying to erect the tent. So I'd be sitting there trying to work on the tent, so I was constantly worrying that it was going to come back, because it kept coming back before, So that was an issue. So that kind of the whole Sidewinder battle kind of made me feel vulnerable. So I wanted to get in the tent and close up all the zippers, so I wouldn't have to battle the snakes. And so the whole Sidewinder battle kind of left me feeling vulnerable out here, and so I didn't sleep for a long time. Because then, so then I got to thinking about, well, okay, cougars, mountain lions, those sort of things are out here, and I have no defense. I've got a little lock blade knife. It's got about a 4-inch blade at the most. It's probably a 3-inch. And so I slept with that open and unlocked next to me. Locked open next to me. And I had Penny's mace. I slept with that clipped to my shirt button area. And I thought about what other weapons I might have. I slept with the helmet in the tent because I didn't want snakes crawling into it during the night. I'm guessing the Sidewinder just really, really wanted the warmth of the quad. So, and at this point, still, before I take off on the quad today, I'll be inspecting every flap and space that I think a snake might be hiding, because I don't want it crawling out as I'm driving away, and bite me in the crotch or something. So, and even this morning, just getting the stuff out to charge my phone and everything, and batteries for the camera, you saw me abruptly in last night. The batteries died, but the batteries were in the quad. I was not going to get out of the tent to get batteries. So anyway, forgot what I was saying. I forgot what I was going to say. Oh yeah. So no, I didn't remember. I just thought I did. Oh, the sun's coming out. I'm going to shine you over there a bit. You see that? There, the sun's coming out. Not a bad little area. So needless to say, the night was kind of strange because I was just, I was scared. Not scared enough to pack up and leave or call Huddy and have him come get me. But, but it was kind of scary. I mean, at one point after a while I did sort of relax down, you know, and I was able to read the Kindle and kind of enjoy myself a little bit. But it's amazing how much I mean, it was really windy last night. So the tent was just flapping like crazy. And it's amazing how much a tent flap in the wind sounds like a cougar trying to get into the tent. They sound exactly the same. So every few minutes I would have to stop what I was doing, shine the flashlight out around the perimeter of the tent from inside to make sure the cougar was not trying to get in. And every once in a while I'd hear a noise that didn't sound right, and I would slap my hand down on the floor of the tent, the cot, and the cot is so tight it's like a drum. So every once in a while you'd hear this bam, 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 because I was, scaring the alleged cougar away from my area. And about 2:30 a.m. the coyotes started in. Now, I'm not too worried about coyotes. I've never heard of them really messing with people that much. It may be that I'm just naive and I've never heard of it and it's happened, or hopefully I'm correct and they just don't mess with people. But I heard them, laughing and calling out in the distance about 2:30 a.m. and then around 3, I heard them laughing and calling to each other not as far into the distance. And since I was in this vulnerable mood, every time they got closer, I got to worrying a little bit more again. So again, needless to say, it was not a full night of sleep. The cot did great, and in the wind, the tent did great. And man, there was some wind at some points last night. I'm going to show you the tent now. I did have the tent parallel to the quad, right behind the quad in this little road here. But I ended up having to tilt it into the wind, sort of like figuring out the right way to sell a boat. Is I had to fix the tent into the best direction into the wind, so that it wouldn't flap so much. I mean, it was driving me crazy. So I'm going to back up a little bit here. I'm still having to watch the ground wherever I walk for snakes, because man, they just would not leave me alone. So there's kind of like the deal. And see, I didn't even cook last night. I was so flustered with all the snakes fighting and stuff, man. I was like, man, just get in that tent and zip it up so you don't have to fight them. Okay, so here's the quad, and this is where I parked last night, right before I called Penny. And then down, this is sort of a little bit of a hill here. There's one of the power lines. Down this hill, about about 15 feet farther down. I'll just walk over there. See, here's the one of the poles for the power lines, and then about right here is sort of like a little dippy kind of area. I don't think the camera's going to pick that up, but so I'm about 5 feet past that. So I'm like right here. There's a quad, and I call Penny because I come down into this a little bit hill. I come down here to get out of the wind so the wind wouldn't be blowing in Penny's ear. And Penny and I are talking, and I get ready to walk up or start walking back for the quad, and I get about right here, and it's Rattlesnake City, buddy. And so I back up, and it's not stopping, and I'm like, and I screamed like a girl. Penny heard me on the phone. It's not stopping. And so finally, I hear it slow down and stop. And so then I start taking a couple of steps back towards the quad, and it starts again. So I back up, back up, back up, back up, and it finally stops. And so I'm talking to Penny, and I'm thinking, okay, well now I can you know, slowly go back, or at least I want to like be able to throw a rock and make it rattle, so I'll know exactly where it's at, because I never saw it. I can only hear it, and it was dark. I didn't have my flashlight. I just walked down here to make a call. so I take a couple steps, and it would start rattling again, so I'd have to back up. Well, this kept happening till I was about right here. And then finally, I gathered up a few rocks and decided to go back to the quad by way of the bushes going around the road. So that's what I did last night. So I do that, and this is just to tell you, you know, how everything's working. I do that. I'm still looking for this snake down here, because now I'm right in the area where I think it was at. So I do that, come up here, you know, and I think, okay, I'm cool. I can handle all this. I don't know if you can see it, but I was planning on putting the tent over there, and you see all the tracks? I drove round and round. Just, you know, I'm going to scare away any animals. You know, let them know this is my territory for the evening. And then I park in the road and start taking the tent out. I get the cot set up. Excuse me. I get the cot set up, and I start to put the tent on. And I'm pulling tent poles out of the bag. Walk around, and right here is a Sidewinder coming right in between the tent and the quad, and he starts going in between the two tires of the quad. So I go around, and I come over here, and I try and shoo him away by throwing rocks and kicking dirt at him and stuff. And he kind of comes at me. So I go back around the quad again, and now he's back over here. You know, so I start kicking rocks at him, you know, and throwing rocks at him and stomping the ground. And I get him from about, here's the quad, I get him to about right here, and then he starts coming back at me again. Because I thought, you know, like once I get him scared, he's just going to go off into the woods like any other snake I've ever seen. Well, this went on it took me about about 5 or 6 times to get him to right here. So this is all the farther away I could get this guy. But I got him to right here, and it looked like he was finally going to stay away and go off into those bushes, I hoped. I'm sure he's still over there. Either that, or he finally, once I got in the tent, he came back and crawled up to get some warmth on the engine of the quad. So I've already started the quad this morning. I started it and moved away from it and watched to see what might have crawled out. But I'll be going through all the flaps and everything before I drive off to make sure he's not in any of the pockets or anything. And he wasn't that big. He was only about I'm gonna guess. See, I never saw him straight. He was always in the curlicue thing, the S thing that Sidewinders do. But in Sidewinder mode, I'm gonna guess he was about this long. Not that big. If I straightened him out, I'm gonna guess he's probably about, I don't know if you can see this or not. I'm gonna guess about 2.5, maybe 3 feet at the most. But anyway, so that was my adventure. Sun's out now, and I'm gonna start the quad back up. Hopefully it'll scare any snakes that have embedded themselves in it overnight. And I'm charging my phone right now. I turned the quad off just to make this tapes, so I better turn it back on because I'll drain my battery charging my phone. Here's my setup for that. Got a little AC converter, and then the phone's plugged into that, and that's into the phone there. Okay, so I'm going to turn the tape off and start the quad up and probably cook. Oh, and of course I didn't bring my coffee, so I'll be heating up tea for breakfast this morning and having a breakfast bar or two. So I think right before I start dismantle the tent, I'm going to probably turn you back on and you can watch that clown act. Okay, bye.